Hi everyone, welcome back to Siete Gift Shop's channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're looking for a last minute gift for those teachers in your life, you're in the right place. In this video, I will walk you through step by step on how to cut your design using your Cricut machine and applying the double-sided tape onto the tumbler to create a beautiful image that I know any teacher would love. This video is a little bit longer than usual. However, I will put markers so that way you can skip any parts that you already know. This video will be perfect for any beginners that is learning how to work with double-sided tape. You always want to measure your cup, regardless if you've purchased the same cup from the same company and it's the same size. You still want to measure each cup. You don't want to have to cut your template and then realize it's not exactly the same size. So I like to use this handy ruler, and that is very precise. I will add a link down in the description below of where I got it. And I like to measure at the center. I like to measure in the bottom. And then I also like to measure at the top of the cup. Sometimes they can be a little off, but if they are, just use the largest size. Now I'm going to measure from the top to the bottom, and I like to cut it right before it starts to curve, and I want to leave a little bit of the stainless steel exposed at the top. This step is very handy if you want to skip having to use a cut edging tool. Why create extra steps for yourself? So this is very helpful. We have imported our template. Here you can see that the sizes are up here. You can see it here. You can see them down here, or you can see them up here. Now to resize it, there's multiple ways of resizing a template. You can click on the corner, these little squares here in each corner. You can click on it, hold it down, and stretch it in and out, depending on the size, if you know what your sizes are going to be. You can also drag on the edges, either side, here, you get the point. For me, the easiest way is just to go up here and just manually put in your measurements. You want to unlock this proportion by clicking on that little lock, and then entering your measurements manually. So width, I'm going to put in 9.15. I'm going to hit my tab key and then 7.87 and hit my enter key. Then I'm going to go back up here and lock that because I don't want that to change. So now you're ready to make it. However, there's additional steps that I like to do just to save myself some work. Normally when you have your template already cut, it just cuts that, right? The template. And it cuts the edges just barely. But then for me, in the beginning, I used to go in here with the scissors and try to cut the straight line as much as possible. Sometimes I would not be so good at cutting straight lines. I'm just as good as cutting straight lines as I am at drawing a straight line. And you guys know how that goes. So what I like to do is I go in here and add a square. So we go over here to your left hand panel and click on shapes. Find your square and automatically adds it in there. To close this, just click on this little arrow and we're back to here. Now we can resize this the same way with your proportions locked in this way, you get the point. So we're going to go in here again and manually enter our measurements. We want it to be the same as your template. 9.15, tab, 7.87, enter. So now we want to, let's shrink our screen just a little bit so we can see the next step that's coming up. Now we have the square. Now we're going to duplicate this 5 more times. You go over to your layers panel and this little plus button here, it shows a duplicate. If you just hover over it, it says duplicate. We're going to click that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have 6 squares that measure exactly the same measurement. Okay, so now we're going to select all of them just by clicking outside of the box. We're going to select all of it. So we're going to go here, select all of them, and then we're going to go up here where it says align. Click on that little arrow button. We're going to center it. Now we're going to click outside of the shape again, and then click outside of it, and then select them again. Here you can see they're all selected because they're all highlighted on your layers panel. We want to change this color to the same color as your template, and I'll tell you why. When you go to make it, if these two items are a different color, it's going to ask you to select or reload your mat. And let me show you. Let's go back to the black. Even though, let's keep those together. Even though you group them, it's gonna ask you to reload the mat every single time for each square. Even though you attach it, you have all the 6 block squares attached, and you go to make it, it's still gonna ask you to reload the mat more than once. I like for the Cricut to do the work for me because I don't want to have to use scissors. So what we're going to do is select the black square, and make it the same color as your template. So I'm going to make it red. Now, if you don't like the red, you can always change this to another color just to make it easier for you. Whatever your favorite color is, you can leave it as that. But you want these two to be the same color. Now, you're going to overlay this together. Doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. Just highlight it and recenter it again. Now you're going to say, wait, my template is gone. It's not. It's still there. It's just underneath the block. If you go over to your layers panel here, you're going to see your template here. And up here are going to be your squares. So what you want to do is click on your template, drag it above that, and there's your template again. Now we're going to select it again. Select all of it and attach everything together. Now when you go to make it, it's all one simple cut. You don't have to reload the mat, you don't have to change it or anything like that. So it's going to cut the template first, and then it's going to cut the multiple squares at the end. So here you go to continue. And remember to always do a test cut. You always want to do a test cut, whether you have vinyl, new vinyl, you have blades. Sometimes the blades wear off. Sometimes you have new blades, so they're sharper than before. You always want to do a test cut. So for me, I've done a test cut. My premium vinyl is what works best for my blade, for the machine that I have, and for the type of double-sided tape that I'm using. So that's what I'm going to go with in this instance. You always want to do a test cut. Some people use sticky note. Some people use the washi tape option. Again, just do a test cut. And again, I'm going to leave it as a default because I've done a test cut. I know that's what works for me. Now you're ready to load your Cricut machine. You want to do a little bit of pre-planning before you put your vinyl on your mat. It is stainless steel, however, the colors that I'm going to apply onto the template are going to be more on the lighter colors. So I want the base to be lighter. The bottom is going to be dark, so I'll show you how to do that later. But for now, we're going to apply the double-sided tape onto this white piece of vinyl. I don't want to have to spray it. We can spray it if you wanted to. However, because of this, we're using a template, I'm going to use another piece of vinyl to apply it onto the tumbler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel it back. Where's my weed eating tool? Okay, so we're going to peel this back. About an inch or so. Then you take your scissors. You don't want to have to fold this, so we're going to cut over here, because if you try to cut along this edge, your scissors are going to tend to try to grab the double-sided tape there. So we're going to cut in this direction. So we're going to cut about 1/4 of an inch or an inch, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay. So now do this. And this gives us practice for later. Now we're going to line it up with the vinyl here. Keep it in place. Make sure you don't go over. And peel the piece that you just cut off. Get as close to the edge as possible. And then you take your squeegee, peel it back. And then make sure you squeeze out any air bubbles that you may see as you go along. Don't do the whole piece at once. Take your time and start from the middle outward and the middle outward. It's just the easiest way for me to make sure there aren't any bubbles in the double-sided tape. And if for whatever reason you miss a section and you have bubbles in there, the easiest way to get rid of them is just to take your weeding tool and poke a hole in it and then press around it and to press all the air out of it. You should be able to get rid of any bubbles that you may have. There you go. Oops. No air bubbles at all. Now you are ready to place it on your mat. Okay, so now the template has cut, and now we're ready to remove the vinyl off of the mat. However, we just want to remove just the surrounding parts. Now you have your square and your template already cut. You don't have to use scissors to cut it. Now, before you remove your template, what I like to do, sometimes when you peel it off, it curls on you, especially on the corners or the ends. So what I like to do to make things easier for me is I like to flip the mat face down onto a flat surface. Now you want to roll your mat away from your template, not the other way around. So you're going to hold your template down, the vinyl down, and then roll your mat away from the vinyl. That way you don't have any curls and you're ready to use your template. Now that we have our template cut, we are ready to apply it to the tumbler. And we're going to do just a test run to make sure that there are no gaps once we place it on there, and it looks perfect, perfectly lined up. Now, if this was a seamless template, a seamless design, then you're going to want to make sure to line up the cuts on both sides. This one is not a seamless design, so I'm not too concerned about it. However, you do want to line it up on the ends as much as possible. Try to make your life just a little bit easier. But if they don't line up perfect, it's okay, because pinstriping is going to be your best friend at that point. Now, as you can see, I'm leaving some of the stainless steel exposed at the top and at the bottom. This prevents me from having to cut the template yet again with a cutting tool. So this is the easiest for me. I don't have to worry about it. And now we're ready to apply it. We need to get our weeding tool and our scissors. You're going to, let's see, we're going to pick a corner, whichever corner is easiest for you. This design goes like this for me, so I'm going to start peeling the backing off of the vinyl. You're going to want to take that corner, take your corner, peel it back, make sure only to grab the backing of the vinyl. And just like we did when we were applying the template, you're going to want to peel it back about an inch or so, whatever you feel comfortable with. Then take your scissors and cut it along this side. Don't cut along the edge over here, because it will try to stick to your tape. Now, you're going to put that piece that you just cut back onto the vinyl. Now we're ready to apply it onto the tumbler. Make sure to check your image. You don't want to put it on upside down, trust me. I've done that several times because I was not paying attention. Now you're going to, again, try to line it up as much as possible. Center it right where you want it. And then hold it in place. Where's the piece I cut? Hold it in place. And then you're going to remove that backing that you just cut. Then you're going to want to press down the middle with your thumb, and then press from the center out, and press from the center out. No bubbles, all good. So now the reason that you placed, one of the two reasons that you placed the double-sided tape onto the vinyl is because if for whatever reason you don't line it up right where you want to accidentally, you can always remove the vinyl and place it back down. Had you not had the tape on the vinyl, if you try to remove the template, all the pieces would come off. I hope that makes sense. Now, pull this back. Again, pull just a little bit at a time. Take your time. It's not a race. Press from the center out and the center out. And let your fingers do the walking. Okay. It's lined up perfectly. Again, if you have any air bubbles, just press it along and you are good to go. Now for the fun part. Okay, so we have our template. We want to put an arm on it because we do not want to have to touch any part of the tumbler from this point forward. So we're going to make sure it is secured. Anytime that you're working with a tumbler and a template, you always want to start with the darkest colors first. Whether you're working with glitters or pigments or anything else, you want to start with the darkest colors first and then work your way to the lighter color. Here's a tip. If you are like me and kind of more of a visual person, you can print these sheets and color them in if you have extra time, and then write down what colors you're going to use for this, or if you're planning on creating this design over and over again and you just want to remember which colors you use from where, this is a helpful tool. So we're going to start with the darkest colors first, and for me, this, as you saw, this is a leopard print, so we're going to have black here. We're going to do some of the outlining in black, and then I want to do the bottom portion in black glitter. So we're going to start with the bottom. I don't want to use glue because it just takes time. You're going to, if you're using dark, you want to just do one coat of the dark glitter, and then, so for me, it's just easier to paint the bottom, the base black, and then use the paint as part of the adhesive. I don't want to have to paint it and then come back with adhesive and then put the glitter. So this, for me, this saves me time. Now, I would only use acrylic paint if you're adding glitter. This will not work for pigments or any kind of flakes or anything like that. Now allow your acrylic paint to dry before you brush off any excess. Remember, I said the outline and I want the count print to be white and black, so I'm going to start removing all of the black, the parts where I want it to be black, and the outline, and probably the numbers. When you're working with templates, the best advice I would give for the size of glitters that you're using. If you're using a template that has really intricate designs, I would recommend the micro cuts, which are 1/360 is best. That's going to give you really well coverage. You won't have to do a second coat or anything like that. You can also use extra fine and fine. It just depends on the template. I wouldn't recommend chunky unless you have like a large section to cover. When you're working with micro glitters or fine glitters, make sure to maintain your area clean, as some of those will fly around and you don't want to contaminate your templates. So be careful and keep your area clean. The best tool for this is a lint roller. Now you want to seal your glitter. You don't want any of that glitter to move when you put the epoxy on it. So the best way to do it is to seal it. You can take it outside and use the Rust-Oleum 2X Clear. It has been raining for the last 2 days straight where I am, so I can't go outside and spray. So I'm using the sealer instead. This sealer is going to look a little cloudy when you apply it onto your tumbler. However, after a few minutes, it will turn clear. That's how you will know that it is ready to epoxy. So just set it aside for a few minutes and come back to it and start your epoxy. There are some sealers that do require for you to wait 24 hours before you start to epoxy. So make sure you read the instructions from the supplier. Now that the sealer has dried, you are ready to epoxy. Now, one of the most popular questions I get asked all the time is, what epoxy do you recommend? And my answer to that is always, well, that's a trick question. Because each epoxy will react differently based on your environment. There's a lot of factors to take into. So my recommendation would be to try out different brands. When you're working with part A and part B epoxy, it is creating a chemical reaction when you mix them. So if you're adding humidity, if you're adding too much heat, it just depends on your environment and where you are. All of that is going to affect your epoxy. So it is best to try out different brands to see how they work in your environment. I would start out with small bottles. Every company has like sample bottles that you can get. I would recommend that before you invest in buying the larger bottles. Some people like a certain brand and they swear by it, but that works well in their environment. So you should probably test them out before you commit to any brand. So that is my answer. Okay, so now we are ready for pinstriping. Now I did let that first coat of epoxy cure overnight, and then I went in with a second coat and let that cure for 24 hours, lightly sanded it, and now we're ready for pinstriping. Now I like to purchase the vinyl sheets, so if you have a cutting machine, you can cut your own pinstriping. Don't go wasting extra money on things that you can do on your own if you have a cutting machine, and you can cut it with any color of vinyl that you have at home. So here's another tip for you. So what do you think this design? I think she turned out gorgeous. Those glitters are perfect for this design, and she is super sparkly. Now, I pinstriped it. I also went ahead and cleaned the rim. You always want to do the rim job. Make sure to leave exposed stainless steel at the very top and clean it all up before you're done. After you pinstriped it, you want to seal it as much as you can, just like you did with the glitters when we sealed the glitters. Then you want to epoxy it, make sure everything is smooth, let it cure for at least 72 hours before you give it to your teacher. Now, I won't be able to show you the final result on this cup as I am putting my grandbaby's name on here and the teacher's name. So, yes. What do you think of this design? Will you be doing this? Leave me a comment with an apple if you have a teacher in your life, or if you like this design, or if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next one, thank you for watching.